Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Artisan Cutlery Weyden. Definitely a premium knife, and considering the build quality and materials, I think the price is pretty awesome. It's definitely an expensive knife though. I'll link it right down below. You guys can check it out if you want. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to Artisan Cutlery for providing this knife for review. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. Overall length of the Weyden coming in at 7.5 inches. Blade length is coming in at about 3.35. Cutting edge just shy of 3 1/4. Just shy. Let's do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. So up against the 8010 and the 8020.5. This is much more of a 8020.5 size knife with more cutting edge. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Once again, closer to the size of the smaller guy here, about a 1/4 inch longer than the Para 3, but way more cutting edge. And then finally, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. There we go. How's the action? Well, it's pretty good. As far as the pivot action goes, now the lock bar access is minimal. I mean, you've got it kind of cut out on both sides. There's some nice texturing there, and it's not sharp, but you do kind of have to pinch in, like you have to push your thumb in and then push over. I like it when the show side scale is carved a little bit out extra so that the lock side scale peeks over. And that allows you just to approach it from the side and sort of move it. This is fine. It's not a deal breaker, but it is a little bit pinchy, and you should be aware of that. This is a top flipper / front flipper, which is, it's probably personally my least favorite way to deploy a knife. It depends on who you are and what you like. You absolutely can top flip this, but it's not the most comfortable top flipper ever. You have this little like Whoville sort of horn right here. And I don't know why that is what that makes. This looks like something out of a Dr. Seuss book. I don't know why, but it works. It's just not, you kind of have to find exactly the right point. And even when you do, the thumb, front flip or the index finger flip, they don't feel incredibly satisfying. It doesn't feel like you're getting a perfect amount of leverage. It's doable, but you're never going to get a super satisfying deployment. And I think every now and then you're going to slip off of it, perhaps even, drop the knife in a rare situation. So it's not my favorite means of deployment, but it's okay. As far as the pivot action, it's nice. It's Artisan Cutlery, and I think they did a really good job with, the machining and the tolerances and things like that. So it's good to go in that department. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's actually a little bit thinner. Length and height up against the PM2 and the Para 3. Sorry, there it is. You can see this guy is pretty compact. It does get fairly tall in here, but still not quite as tall as the Para 3. It's really not that cumbersome of an object in the pocket. Let's go ahead and get out my tools for a hardware check. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel, or the pinned comment in the comment section. The pivot is a T8, and that's going to be, of course, on both sides. Missed it there a little bit, and for some reason it's not. There we go. The body screws, I believe, are also T8. Yes, very good. The pocket clip screw is a T6, but that's okay. No big deal there. And the lock bar insert screw is also a T6, but we don't need to worry about that. There's no reason to take out the lock bar insert screw. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Hey, new batteries in the calipers. Let's celebrate that by using them to check the blade stock thickness. Blade stock thickness on this guy is 106 thousandths. It's pretty thin. Am I grabbing it on the flat? Yeah, I am. Let's do that again. Yeah, 106 thousandths. So a fairly thin blade on the spine anyway. And then let's weigh it. What are we looking at for materials here? We actually have an S90V blade, which is always nice to see. S90V is, in my opinion, one of the very best stainless super steels that you can get at this price point. It is very, very good and very, very preferable. And Artisan Cutlery, to my knowledge, is doing a good job heat treating it. We have textured titanium backspacer, titanium pocket clip, and a little shield of Damascus. That's pretty cool. That's actually layered titanium Damascus. Kind of neat. Anyways, and also I believe we are milled out for weight reduction. Yes. Okay, so the weight on this guy is coming in at 3.5 ounces. Pretty darn good considering the blade length is, I believe, 3.35. Balance, just a ways behind the pivot. Not bad. Closed up or open, it really feels like a fairly lightweight knife, so no big deal there. Let's go ahead and move into the meat and potatoes here. This is kind of a weird looking knife, isn't it? It's the blade profile is almost the same as the handle profile, right? Like each side is kind of very similar shape. Now in hand, it does work. This is a shape that works well with the human hand, right? You do have this little tiny bit of jimping here that is the same. No, it's not. It's literally just, it's literally just jimping in place of a guard, all right? Like a hooked guard to sort of give you one last little bit of friction before you accidentally run your finger up on the blade, and which is appreciated, right? Because the design is uninterrupted, right, by any sort of opening mechanism down here or any sort of weird protrusion. So they've done that for your safety and convenience and ergonomic comfort, right? I can fit 2 fingers comfortably right here in this position, and then this swell down here is where my third and fourth finger land. There's no jimping up here on the spine of the blade, but that's okay. There's no contouring. Again, that's okay. A little bit of texturing that is meaningful. I love that they laid this little shield of Damascus in there. I found that to be very classy. I think it's nice. It's one of those body lines that people are either going to be turned off by or they're going to like, right? It kind of, in a lot of ways, it kind of looks like an insect. I think maybe like a hornet body, right? Like a thorax, I guess. Is that the right word? I don't know. But you know how it comes to a point at the end? It kind of looks like that to me. The whole knife looks nice, and I love the texture. I love the chamfered edges. I love the lines. The backspacer actually has a nice little designy element to it where it kind of follows the lines of the I guess the spine of the scales, but it rises up and has its own chamfered edges, sort of peeks out. This is nice because most of the time this area is just a flat backspacer, which is okay, but it just looks a little bit better. The blade shape, I think that there's a specific name for this blade shape, and it's like some weird, like, we don't hear often about it. I feel like I've seen this named specifically as something, and somebody in the comments can help me out there. But we have this big swedge up top. We got a flat that runs at about 50% the length of the blade. And we come out to a tip, sort of drops down. And what I like about it, regardless of, my inability to properly classify this blade shape, what I like about this blade shape is that the tip is down. So for somebody like me, a simple regular Joe who doesn't do anything overly complicated with a knife on a day-to-day basis, I like to do draw cuts and shaping cuts with my knives, and I like getting my finger up here behind the tip. When the tip is down, it makes those draw cuts a little bit easier versus something like a drop point where the tip is more up. You can still do it, but you kind of have to get a little bit more down because you got to work around this belly here. This is fine. We also do have a little bit of belly, and it does get reasonably thin behind the edge down here. It looks good. This is, I'm going to go ahead and say famous because I'm going to give that to him. Artisan Cutlery has developed this famous sand polish. And forever I'm going to be dramatic and say cursed with 2 options basically not 2. We had like 3 main finishes on our knives. We had some sort of black, paint, Cerakote, PVD, DLC if we were lucky, and black wash. Then we had tumbled, and we had a machine satin, right? Now, of course, people would say, there's a million other finishes. They're bead blast. I'm talking about like knives in this territory, right? In this territory, this is what we were cursed with. I love the tumbled finishes, right? But I can't stand black wash. I like DLC and Cerakote and PVD in certain situations, but I was just bored to tears of belt satin, right? So Artisan Cutlery developed this super high polished satin finish, and it looked really great. And I'm going to give you an example of a knife I think they did a really good job with. This is the same finish on what's called the Artisan Cutlery Satir. I've gotten so excited about this finish, I've spit all over the knife. Now, let me ask you, can you tell that there's a little bit of a difference here in the Satir? This is okay. We can see a lot more lines. And yeah, you can see me in that a little bit. You can see me a lot better in this one. You can even see me a lot more clear, right? Many more of those grind lines have been eliminated here, and the finish is much more consistent, right? These cloudy areas you're seeing here are a combination of the, I guess, the belt lines or whatever they're using here. There's also a little bit of burn on this blade. And I've mentioned this before. Artisan Cutlery is very capable of producing a beautiful sand polish finish. And I've seen it a few times. Just as often, I've seen subpar sand polish finishes. And here recently, I've seen a couple of knives that they've listed as sand polish that look almost indistinguishable from a basic belt satin finish. Artisan Cutlery, you guys have a beautiful sand polish finish when you do it correctly. You have got to find a way to make this consistent. I don't like to see on a knife that this is this expensive. I don't like to see areas like this that are a little bit yellowy. I don't like to see these lines here. I mean, this is just basically a quarter step up from a belt satin finish, and it doesn't look nearly as nice as this one. This is beautiful. And this is the type of thing that's going to make people choose these knives over the massive variety of competition out there. This looks okay, and I think you've done a great job providing us with S90V, an interesting and unique design, textured titanium, the Damascus inlay. The rest of it looks really, really great. But if we're going to do this sand polish finish, which I love, it's got to be consistent. It has to be the same, right? Or almost, I mean, you can give you a, 0.01%, area where it's okay, well, there's going to be goof ups here and there. But I've seen so many of these sand polished blades that are just wildly different from one another. They should all look like this. This is gorgeous. Very even. It's very beautiful. They should all look like this, right? So this is okay. It's fine. But I've seen what it looks like in its true form, in its purest form. And that's what I think we should strive to get every single time. Right. That's truly, on this knife, is really the only fit and finish issue is just the inconsistency with the final finish on the blade, right? Anyways, there's no lanyard hole. Who cares? The clip is almost symmetrical. The very back of it follows the body lines, right? So if you flipped it over, it would be slightly different, but it doesn't matter. There's no opportunity to have it mounted for lefty carry. So lefties, you've been left out here. This in and out of the pocket was all right, a little bit pinchy, and that's due to the up and over instead of the under and up, I guess is how I'm calling it now. It does ride on texturing, but the texturing is not super aggressive, so it's not bad. The pocket clip is a little bit long, just over the 50% line, which makes it a little bit more noticeable when you're gripping it like this in the hammer grip, right? But ergonomics are all right. Nothing wrong there. No deal-breaking elements there. We have a stop pin that's attached to the blade, so it runs on little channels carved out on either side of the titanium. This is nice. Added stability while maintaining nice smoothness. So no lock stick, absolutely no movement in any direction. Frame lock, good enough for a light triple tap, so no issues there. No pivot lash, very consistent in here. Great detent considering the, what you need to use to open it. We do have, I believe, perfect centering, yes. And we have a little bit of wobble, but no actual clicking, right? You can kind of see the blade wanting to pull up, but there's nothing actually clicking. So that's just like stress, I guess, on the detent ball. So yeah, fit and finish all the way around pretty good. So on paper, you say, the Weyden, you get the length, the blade measurements, S90V, sand polish, Damascus inlay, a little one, but a Damascus inlay, textured titanium. You got a titanium backspacer or titanium pocket clip. Price comes in at $199. Yeah, it's a good deal on paper. You look at it though, and we see the inconsistencies in the finish, right, on the blade, and you're still like, it's still good. It's just like, they missed that cherry on top. If this blade looked exactly like this blade, yeah, this would have been spectacular. The only thing left would have just been, whether or not you like how the knife looks. I think Artisan Cutlery's got their pricing down, right? And overall, their machining quality, I think, is very, very good. We need to get better and much more consistent with it. You guys need to decide what that sand polish is supposed to look like, and then you got to hit it 999 times out of 1,000, right? I mean, it's got to be that consistent. Well, we can't have this where it's like, yeah, it's sand polish, and it's like, oh, that looks like satin, or somewhere in between, right? Do something like this. Stand out, because this is excellent. This is all right. It's not going to be for everybody, and the price is good, right? It is, right? It's just the knife itself is just not going to be a, something that everybody's going to love, and a lot of it has to do with the deployment. It's just a little bit weird, but it's a cool knife, and if you like it, right, and you want to roll the dice on the sand polish, then, go ahead. But that might be something that's going to hold some people back. That's going to be pretty much it for me today, guys. Please, like I said, this will be linked down below if you want to check it out. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.